every penny. If it were at my show, then I know they gon' tip me. Think I might add a couple patches. If you think it's ugly, you capping. Now my whole outfit matching, never going out of fashion.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 657, Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. We've got some exciting news here today. Mike Shildt, he has agreed, or the Padres and him, they reportedly have agreed on an extension, a 2-year extension through the 2027 season. He was under contract through 2025. Now it's 2026 and 2027. AJ Preller's contract, by the way, is through 2026, I believe. So maybe he gets a 1-year extension, because usually the GM and the manager don't have not matched up contracts, right? And especially this relationship where you've got Shildt and you've got Preller, two guys that are baseball rats, and Preller hired him, and this was Preller's last manager, right? I mean, that's his last manager opportunity because of how many chances he has gotten. I think we could all agree on that. And it seems like he has struck gold with this hire. Now, in 2022 with Bob Melvin, we didn't hear anything bad then, and then we know what happened in 2023. But this still does feel different, where it's like, yeah, these are two guys that in spring training at 6 a.m. or whatever time it was, MLB Network had cameras on them, and they were walking around, strolling around the warning track on one of the spring training fields, talking about the team. That wasn't happening with Bob Melvin. It's just a different vibe that I get. It's a different relationship. It seems like it really is a special relationship. It seems like, not everyone is fit for AJ Preller, right? Not everyone can be AJ Preller's manager, but Mike Shildt seems like he is the right fit for that. And so this was one of the things that we were hoping to check off the list this offseason, right? Our offseason wish list. And we got it. So I'm excited about it. Again, Kevin Acee reported this afternoon a 2-year extension. The 56-year-old Shildt, given a 2-year contract when he was hired toward the end of last November. His new deal will run through 2027. The deal is expected to be announced as soon as Wednesday. Acee also writes, the team has been working through contracts for most of its baseball operations employees and some members of the coaching staff. Those packs are expected to be finalized in the coming days. So I'm hoping that means Ruben Niebla. I'm hoping that means Ben Fritz. I don't know who else is not under contract anymore. But those two, I know that they were not under contract anymore. They were free agents technically once the World Series ended. And so that's the next thing that's on my wish list. Free agency, trades, that'll happen, right? That takes time. But to get these coaching staffs finalized here, especially when it's the same manager and you want Ruben Niebla as your pitching coach, because this guy's probably going to manage one day. If he wants to, he's probably going to manage one day. So let's get this contract done, because we know what Ruben Niebla means for this Padres organization. And I don't, because I see this on social media as well. And I understand it because Niebla is the pitching coach, but I don't want to make it seem like this is just a Ruben Niebla thing, because I know Ben Fritz does a good job, it seems like, in the bullpen as well. And with what he does. And it's not like his job is just standing there during the game, talking to pitchers, preparing them for matchups, which is important, by the way. But that's not just his job. There's other things, obviously, I imagine, that go into that before the game, right? And I'm sure he's big on preparing as well. So it's not just a Ruben Niebla thing, but I know Niebla, obviously, he's the pitching coach. That's the bigger title. So he's going to get a lot of the credit there, and it's deserved for sure. But that tandem, I want that tandem. I don't want it to just be a Niebla thing. I want to give respect to Ben Fritz as well. And we talk about Ruben and Fritz. I think of guys like Jeremiah Estrada this year. I think of Seth Lugo, Michael King, Michael Wacha, in the past that have developed new things and have become better pitchers, or revitalized, is that the right word, their career under this pitching instruction, this pitching staff, pitching coach staff, I should say, of Niebla, Fritz, whoever else is involved, because I imagine it's not just a two-person thing. And so I obviously want that to stay together. Again, if you're just tuning in, what this means for AJ Preller, I would imagine it means that he gets another year tacked on to that extension, and he gets locked up with Mike Shildt through 2027. And it's not going to be a Preller through 2026 and Shildt through 2027. They could just, if something terrible happens and Preller, to me, it feels like Preller has the job until he doesn't want it after what happened this year. But that's easy for me to say now when I'm assuming, hoping both that the Padres will be able to make the playoffs for 2025. If they don't, then we could be in a totally different conversation, right? Because it would be like, well, a great step forward for 2024, and you were one game away from beating the World Series champ and moving on to the NLCS, which, by the way, the Padres would have had home field advantage in. And then the next year, you don't make the playoffs, or you don't win a wild card series, or whatever it may be. That obviously would be a different convo. But as for today, I'm excited about this news. Again, it's just one thing to check off this offseason. There's a lot of work to be done. I'm sure there's comments in the chat that I will obviously get to here in a second. But yeah, I'm just happy for Mike Shildt. This is well deserved. This is someone that is that baseball nut, someone that really wants to win for San Diego. And that was so refreshing coming off of 2023. Don't know if you guys remember this, but Bob Melvin, the Giants press conference, he goes and talks about how every time he'd come to San Francisco, he'd look at that other dugout and be like, maybe, hopefully one day, he'd be the manager of the Giants. Well, he got that, and look how that's working out so far for him. So hopefully he's happy there. But someone that wants to fight for San Diego, someone that wants to be the manager for the San Diego Padres and wants to win for that city and wants to win for the players, the fans, the ownership, obviously the connection that he had to Peter Seidler and the meetings that they had, not talking about baseball, but other things as well, about the homelessness and what Shildt and Seidler as human beings. Shildt talked about that, I believe, at his press conference when he was hired late last year. And we know the relationship that AJ had with Peter, and AJ got emotional, his first comments after Peter passed away, right? And so it's a duo there in Preller and Shildt that care about this more than pretty much anything else. This is their lives. I don't know if you can say that about every manager GM combo in baseball. But AJ Preller, we know this guy barely gets any sleep. Mike Shildt, it seems like he's that type of guy on the manager side of things. And so right now, and things could change, but right now, absolutely love this duo. I love this Mike Shildt news. He deserved this extension through 2027. Hopefully we get a World Series by then. Hopefully we get at least a World Series appearance by then. And also what I love for Mike, it seems like he's just a great human being as well. And if we talk about the baseball side, of how he cares about the little fundamental things. And the little things add up. We saw that this year in the postseason. The little things add up. And if you don't emphasize the little things, if you don't care about the little things, if you don't care about it being the best team that you can have and that you can lead, then you're probably not going to be able to go win the whole thing. And so I feel good with Mike Shildt leading this and leading, the direction that the Padres are in here. So I'm happy for Mike, for sure. Happy for Mike. This is the right move. At the time that Mike Shildt was hired, I thought that it was the safe hire, and I was okay with it because I didn't want AJ Preller to go make this big, bold move of someone that we hadn't heard of, because we saw that a couple of times and not worked out. You wanted that safe. I was fine with that safe hire. And Mike Shildt, I love that he had been in the organization a couple of years before. And so he knew what was going on. He knew what AJ Preller was about. It's not like he had interviewed with AJ, talked with him for a couple of hours, and was like, all right, yep, I'm the manager. And then you go through a full season and you may not be able to handle AJ Preller as your GM, as your president of baseball operations. But Mike Shildt knew who AJ was, knew what AJ was about, knew how he conducted himself, and knew how all in he had to be with this. And so, yes, 2024, the postseason, it was disappointing there with how that ended and having the 2-1 series lead. And some may not have agreed with every decision Mike Shildt made. And guess what? That's the same with every fan base in all of baseball, probably, right? That's just what it is. That's just what the manager job is. How many decisions he has to make or not make in postseason games or just throughout the year. It's so many that we can't even count. So that's going to happen. But overall, I thought he was a strong manager this year. He, the players, it seems like they fight for him. They love him. And yeah, that's what I've got really on this news. I'm happy that it's done so that now we can, the Padres can start to check more boxes off on this wish list. All right, let's get to the chat here. Shildt is great. Thank goodness we have some security on his contract. Jeffrey says that is a good first signing. We need to have Shildt. He's a keeper. That's for sure. Yep, totally agree with that. And yes, I will invite those that want to join on the show. I just saw that comment from David. I just put it in the chat so you can see that link there. Just scroll down. Let's see. The players really let Shildt down in the playoffs. He is not one to blame them. But and then didn't finish the comment. So, you could say the players let down Shildt because of like the 24 scoreless innings thing. But yeah, you're right. Schilt's not going to look at it that way because he's a team guy. And he's not one to be all pissed off at the players and, blame it all on the players. And by the way, that's not what any good manager should do, by the way, right? Like, part of your job is to put the focus on you a little bit and a little bit less on the players. There are some managers that hold the players accountable. I'm not saying that an effective manager never holds players accountable. They do. But I think Shildt does a good job of being that player manager, but at the same time being, and he wouldn't like me saying this, old school, because he probably doesn't feel like he's old school. He feels like he's just, this is how the game of baseball should be played. It's not old school. This is the right way. But he's that type of manager, if you know what I'm saying. So there's a good combination there. By the way, I want to scroll through this Kevin Acee article here just to see if there's anything else that I wanted to hit on here. Again, if you're just joining, contracts expected to be finalized in the coming days. Kevin does not mention Ruben Niebla, but he talks about the team has been working through contracts for most of its baseball operations employees and some members of the coaching staff. Shildt came in preaching togetherness and alignment as core tenets. Memories of tensions between A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin, who departed to manage the Giants in October, became increasingly distant. Shildt also facilitated new leadership structure among players. The uber-positive Shildt was adamant about normalizing any and every circumstance. One of his numerous oft-repeated mantras is winners find solutions. Yeah, he did do that. Like, he said something about, I think this was in the postseason, about losers make excuses, winners find solutions. So he's not going to be making excuses about what happened here in this postseason. This group is going to try to find solutions on how they can find a way to improve, which is going to be hard to do, by the way, because of the bullpen that they had. Tanner Scott, I don't think he's going to be here, but you have Suarez, you have Estrada, Morahone, Jason Adam may have an elevated role this year, but you're not going to have Tanner Scott, and I don't know who they're going to bring in to fill that. It's going to be hard to replace someone like Tanner Scott, right? You're not going to have Joe Musgrove at all. So that's obviously going to be hard to replace. We'll see what happens with Profar and Higgy and Ha-Seong Kim. By the way, Kim, it doesn't seem like he's going to be ready for the start of the season. He had surgery to repair the torn labrum. Ohtani, by the way, today, it was announced he had surgery to repair torn labrum in that shoulder. But his isn't his throwing shoulder, and Kim is his throwing shoulder. So maybe that's why it's a different timetable there for Ohtani. Although, if you're the Dodgers, I mean, you need Ohtani to be right. You know, you're going to make the postseason next year. You need Ohtani to be right. And so I don't think that they're going to be wanting to push it and be like, day one spring training, you got to be out there on the field, Shohei. And remember, he's returning to pitch next year as well. So we'll see what happens there. Where was I? 93 wins in the regular season, the most since 1998 when they made it to the World Series. And so that's going to be tough to replicate, obviously. And then the path, if the Padres make the postseason next year, we'll see what that ends up being. And we obviously have a full offseason to go with different moves that could be made. It just felt like this year, and I already said this, but like what stung was because of the bullpen the Padres had, the talent on that roster, and the path. They could have beaten Dodgers. They were ahead in the series. They could have won Game 5 and they move on. I think they would have beaten the Mets, and I think they would have beaten the Yankees if they would have been able to get past the Dodgers. That was the World Series, and Dave Roberts admitted that on Mookie Betts' podcast the other day. So that's what stings. But we have the right manager, in my opinion. We have the right core group of guys, it feels like. And they can be a 90-plus win team, I think, again, in 2025. But every year is different. You have to keep that foot on the gas pedal. You know, you can't let up and have complacency or, oh, we can just run it back next year. One, they can't because it's just not going to happen with the same group of guys. But 2023, we know what happened when they kind of went in not attacking the season is what it felt like, right? Don't do that again in 2025. Let's see here. Shildt has guided teams to the playoffs in each of his 4 full seasons, 2019, 2020, 2021, and then obviously 2023 or 2024, excuse me. He didn't manage in 22 or 23. He was obviously with the Padres in like a advisor role. Skip Schumacher, by the way, congrats to him. He is not managing in 2025, but he will be with the Rangers in like an advisor role. So maybe he's going to manage the Rangers once Bochy steps down, or he didn't want to go manage the White Sox, didn't want to manage well, Terry Francona was already with the Reds, but didn't want to manage a team out there right now. And he's waiting. Now, Ollie Marmol, I think, is still with the Cardinals, right? So he may be waiting for that spot to open because he probably wouldn't want to go sign and be with a team that he doesn't want to be on and be with a non-contending team. He doesn't want to go through what he went through with the Marlins, probably, right? He probably wants to wait and see if there's a contending team out there that's willing to take the plunge at him next season or the year after that, which I totally understand if you're Skip Schumacher. Like, if you're Skip, he has earned the right to not just go to any job and wait and see what the best option is for him. Because I think he's one of the better managers in the game. I know it's just one fan's opinion. What do I know? But, like, it seems like he's one of the better managers. And it seems like players love playing for him. It just sucks that he was with the Marlins. Because that is not a great operation over there. Shildt said, by the way, after the NLDS, I firmly expect this group to be back and be ready to go for the consecutive playoff run for 2, 3, 4 years. And that group, it's closer to being back with Mike Shildt at the helm. All righty. Let's continue to go through the chat here. Kirsten says AJ Preller will get extended down the road. I think so too. Yeah. JB says pitching. That's definitely going to be a priority for the Padres for sure. Yeah, the GM meetings are going on. I don't know if Preller's speaking to the media tomorrow, because I saw the American League GMs were speaking to the media today. So perhaps the NL's turn is going to be tomorrow. But yeah, GM meetings underway in San Antonio. JB says need to possibly restructure Xander Bogaerts' contract, sign Profar, bring back Higgy, get Snell back, and maybe another pitcher. Bring in DeVries at shortstop. Okay, hold on there. DeVries is not ready. That's too early there, so that's not happening. Restructure Bogaerts' contract. That's not happening. When do we even see that happen? Where they restructure? Isn't that more of an NFL thing? I'm not the biggest follower of the NFL ever since, that team left, but I think that's more of an NFL thing. But a guaranteed contract that Bogaerts has till he's like 40 something, yeah, that's not getting restructured. Now the signed Profar part, that could happen. There's projections out there that's like 3 years, 15 mil a year. I think Kylie McDaniel had that one out earlier today on ESPN.com or ESPN Plus, whatever. But yeah, that could happen. I wonder how that contract structure is going to be for Profar. Is it going to be guaranteed, or is it going to be 2 years with an option, or 2 years with a couple of options? Because Profar, I think, is 31. So how long are the Padres willing to go on a Profar contract? Get Snell back. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Snell opted out of 30 mil in that 1 year with the Giants this next year. So he probably wants somewhere close to that AAV wise. Maybe he'll take less than that AAV wise if he gets, a long, a 4 or 5 year contract from a team. I don't anticipate that being the Padres. Any starting pitcher that's out there, I expect the Padres to be in on like a Roki Sasaki. But I don't expect them to spend a long-term deal, especially on any big starting pitcher. It's going to be probably short-term, veteran starting pitchers like a Seth Lugo or a Michael Wacha. I'm not saying those guys specifically, but something like that. Not who else is out there? Blake Snell. Garrett Cole's not out there anymore, but he's back with the Yankees, which was an interesting situation there because he opted out and then he realized, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go back to the Yankees. I want to be with the Yankees. The Yankees aren't going to give me that extra year. They know how maybe not great of a contract that's going to be the last couple of years of that deal. And so he stays put. But some other guys that are available here, Nathan Eovaldi, I wonder how long of a deal that's going to be. Corbin Burns, Max Fried, as much as I'd love those guys, I don't see that happening either. Those are the big guys that stand out to me that could get, those the biggest pitching contracts. Maybe Blake Snell, Corbin Burns, Max Fried. I wonder what the market's going to be for someone like Shane Bieber, Luis Severino. But there's other smaller guys like a Kyle Gibson, a Jose Quintana, a Frankie Montas, Verlander and Scherzer. Those guys are up there in age, obviously, but so they're not. But my point is, those aren't going to be long-term deals, obviously. So we'll see what happens. But Snell, I don't see happening. How much was the extension? You mean how long? It's through 2027. It's a 2-year extension. So they're just adding on to 2025. So 25, 26, 27. In terms of money, I don't know. They don't really release that. Like player contracts, they release the money. Managers, they don't really. Usually it's just the amount of years. It's not how much money. Chris says trade for Crochet. I'm not the biggest fan of that after his comments about, didn't he say he wanted an extension for him to pitch in the postseason? That feels like a Josh Hader type guy as a starting pitcher. And I'm like, no, don't know about that. And by the way, I'm not going to say gave away because they got Jason Adam, but they traded Dylan Lesko. They traded, what's his name? Robbie Snelling. They traded top guys. Uriarte's gone. They've traded top starting arms And what are the White Sox going to want back for Crochet? Right? If I remember correctly, when we were talking about Garrett Crochet before last trade deadline, before his comments that he made, it was more like, do you give up Snelling or Lesko? Which one? Are we giving up both? That's what I remember talking about. We don't have either of those guys. So I just wonder what even a trade like that would look like. I'm not going to act like I know everything about this farm system. There are still arms that are in this farm system that would be attractive to other teams. But I would imagine the White Sox probably would think about some position players as well, because they're just not that great of a team right now. The Padres aren't going to give up someone like Cash Mayfield. I don't even know if they can, because they just drafted him. But I'm looking up other pitchers. Boston Bateman, I mean, they just picked as well, so I don't think that would happen. Humberto Cruz, I believe they just added him. He's 17. But there's Henry Baez, Isaiah Lowe, Victor Lizarraga, Francis Pena. But some of these guys are at AAA. Like Francis Pena, his ETA is 2025. So do you want to give up someone that could help you as a depth arm or in the bullpen or wherever? Do you want to give up that person? Sean Reynolds is another. Like, do you want to give up that talent if they could help you and be a cheap guy to have on the roster as well in 2025 and beyond? So I don't see Crochet happening. I think if Crochet was going to happen, it would have been with Snelling and Lesko still in the farm system. And yeah, Cronenworth is not getting traded for Crochet. Mike Shildt deserves an extension, bought them the 90 wins with the reduced payroll. Well, he's getting it, so yep, he deserved it for sure. Yep, just waiting on Niebla now. I feel like Max Fried, it would go to someone like possibly, I mean, who knows about the Phillies? I feel like they've spent a ton of money, but who knows? The Mets may express interest. What about the Baltimore Orioles? They have new ownership. Can we ever rule out the Dodgers for anything? I know they've spent a lot of money, but they have a lot of money still. The Giants, they don't have a big free agent yet. Like, who is their face of the franchise? Buster Posey, who's the president of baseball operations now? Right? It's not a player. Jung-Hoo Lee, we haven't seen him that much, so he can't be the face when he's just coming over. The fans aren't that familiar with him. Like, legitimately. Is it Logan Webb? A guy who pitches once every 5 days? So the Giants, are they going to go all in on Soto? Like, I wonder there. The Blue Jays, remember, they offered, I guess, a ton of money to Shohei Ohtani, and he didn't take it, but they have that money. Do they want to spend it on starting pitching? Do they want to go after Soto? Max Fried, it feels like he would be out of the Padres' range, but we'll see there. All right, let me check social media here real quick. See if there's anything else here. Not seeing anything. Just checking, coming off of the Mike Shildt news. I wasn't going to come on here too long. It was just to give my thoughts. I wasn't expecting this to happen today, but hey, news of the day. Mike Shildt. He'll be here reportedly through 2027, or at least that's when his contract's going to be, for an extra 2 years. I love it. He's our guy. The Preller Shildt relationship seems great. It's refreshing, obviously, coming off of what happened in 2023. And now it's on to possibly a Ruben Niebla deal, keeping this coaching staff together, the baseball operations group, and then on to real offseason player discussions. By the way, A reminder, some of the great partners of the show, Gagon Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. They're at Petco Park during the Padres season. They're at Snapdragon Stadium. Great stuff there. Cheesesteaks, cheesesteak fries, garlic fries, cheese fries. Check them out. Breaking Tea, they've got Padres and Aztecs shirts and sweatshirts. By the way, can't wait. Aztecs basketball, their season starts tomorrow night. They've got a matchup against UCSD. Remember in that close scrimmage that we couldn't watch, but they were playing down some guys and they beat UCLA. So it's going to be an interesting year for the Aztecs for sure. You know, no Ladie, no Lamont Butler, no Darion Trammell. Like there are some big names that are not there. So I wonder how it's going to work this year. It's going to be interesting. And thankfully, we have something else San Diego State to watch because the football team is not very fun to watch right now. They play, by the way, coming up on Friday? So we'll see how they do back at home. We'll see what the condition of the field is because obviously the Wave had to move their match to Louisville for their last match of the regular season because of the field's conditions, which may just be even more of a problem when San Diego FC comes into town next year with 20-plus games on that field. A lot of action, but something needs to change there because it's just not good enough right now. SeatGeek, $20 off your first order code Talking Friars with your sign up with your email. And then Underdog, same code there, Talking Friars. You'll get a special pick and you'll get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Baseball season obviously is over, but there's college basketball that just got underway yesterday and continues tonight. Women's college basketball, NBA season, NFL, college football, I believe MMA, golf. There's a lot of stuff on there. So soccer. So make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy there. And yeah, that's what I've got. Thank you everyone for the time. Just a pretty quick show today, just a reaction. Mike Shildt back. Well, he was going to be here anyway, but an extension through the 2027 season. Congrats, I guess. Yeah. But credit to Kevin Acee for getting that news. And we'll see when this is officially announced. We'll see if there's a press conference or anything. And we'll see if AJ Preller talks to the media coming up this week at the GM meetings.